Hello, hello, dear Squarespace friends. Are you ready for a few more updates? There are a few. Let us dive straight in. First of all, the asset library. From your home menu, you can access it right here, and this is now where all of your images and videos live. I love that we have this now. I mean, we haven't had this for the longest time, so now we can actually organize our assets a little bit better. I like to view my assets in the list view, but here in the top right, you can also click on this here, and then you can just see the thumbnails as well. Now, what is new is that we can now see the trash. So if you delete a file, so let's just click on that, click on the trash can here, and you can delete multiple files at one time as well. And then click on delete. And then if you go to your trash, you can see it in here now. And you have 30 days to recover a file. So you simply click on it and then click on the restore icon down here, and that will put it back into your main library. Love that. Now, one thing that's actually really important to notice is that we can at the moment not see where on our website images are being used. So when you delete something, definitely be sure that it is not something that you're using on your website or in your email. I actually noticed that when I sent out an email using campaigns, it will also refer to an image in my library. If I delete that image, then you will no longer see it in the email actually. So it's important to notice that as well. The other nice thing that we can do now with our asset library is we can create folders. I think this has actually been around for a little while. For some reason, I missed the announcement about that. I noticed it the other day and I love it. So now we can actually create a folder, and then, I can just select multiple images and then click here on the folder icon, and it says move to, and then it will list all of the folders. You have to create the folder first. You can't create it in this view. So create it first and then just click on the folder, and you can even have subfolders and then just say move here. And now it will move your images into the folder. So now if you want to find something easily, you just click on your folder. Oh, hang on a second. I just have to click on it, like double click on it. And then you can see all of your images. And when you're on your website, if you go to the asset library to insert a image, then you have the option to go to the folder here as well. So I absolutely love that. And how do we create folders? In the top right here, just click on add new, and then here you can add a folder. So I really love where this is going with our asset library. I hope that Squarespace are going to work on something that tells us where an image is used. That will just be the cherry on the cake. So I think they're working on that. Next up, in Fluid Engine, you're probably aware that we can select multiple blocks like this, and now we can resize the whole thing at once. So, you can just kind of move it around. It does not keep the aspect ratio necessarily, so if you do this, then you'll still have to go and, maybe adjust some of the things like this, so it doesn't do that. I hope that this is something that we'll get at some point as well. But I just really like how they're making it easier now to basically customize multiple elements all at once. The other thing that is now live, I did have a video on that before. It was in the Circle beta until then. The save and exit buttons, that has been launched now to the general public. So you should be able to see that on your website too. I love this actually. This is such a great change. So if you click on save, it will save the changes, but it will not kick you out of edit mode, which is great. So you can actually continue doing things. And I like this a lot, and then you can just click on exit, and that will then close it down and, kick you out of edit mode. So that is really nice. So everyone should be able to see that now. Then next up, we have a commerce update. If you are using commerce and you have variants, you can now display those as buttons. Really nice. So here is, where you add your variants in your commerce product. I really love actually how they do this, so you can add your options here, and they have some, that are predefined. You can also add a custom option, very nice. And then you can just basically add them all in here, so all at once, which is really wonderful, and then, it looks something like this when you go into your variants. So you can still actually then go in here and update your individual variants as well. So what does it look like on the website? So at the moment, this is what we always had. We had a drop-down list with all the variants. Well, now if you go into edit and then go into edit section, and then here we can customize how we view a product on the product detail page, or PDP as we sometimes call it. And then here there is a variant display option, and just click on button. Voila, now people can see a button, which, if you don't have too many variants, is really nice. Now let's say, I don't really want to style it like this, this is my general button styling. So, or I want to have a different color. So let us go into our site styles. So the color and the styling is actually taken from the secondary button. So however you style the secondary button, that is what this button here uses. So if I want to change the shape, for instance, this is where I can do that. And then if I want to change the color, so I go back to my color editor here for this section theme, which is lightest. And then I just have to find my buttons, and it's the secondary button background. And then this is where I can change that. And this is how we can customize it. But just remember, this will now change your secondary button wherever you use that on your website. Now, most of the time, I just use the primary button for all of my buttons throughout the website. I like it, that we have these different tiers now for the buttons. And, and I could, for instance, say, well, I'm only going to use the secondary button in my commerce shop, something like that. But this is really nice, I think. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that let us just save this here for a moment and exit. And so one thing to bear in mind is, now why did it not save my color? Okay, now, sometimes the color editor is a little flaky. It's changed my shape, but it's actually not saved the color that I just put in, the green. Well, might have to do it again. Sometimes you have to do it twice. But when you now make a selection, it does this. I'm not sure I like this. People have actually raised this already. Because to me, I think whatever the selection is, it should actually be highlighted. I would rather see the selection as just the one button. So just something to bear in mind. You might be able to play around with the color settings a little bit to get this to be a little bit more intuitive. Squarespace are aware of this, so maybe we will see some changes still here. But overall, this is a really great update. Next up, we have, okay, I just have to remember now what I was going to talk about here. Oh yeah, that's right. Our text block in Fluid Engine. Remember, we can do background colors now in text blocks, and we had to, click on this and then click on edit here, and then would have a new window pop up. But now actually, when you click on edit, or when you, just double click in here, it will actually give you your, your styling menu here for your text, basically all your text styling options. And the background color has moved in here. So it's this icon here. So if I click on that, this is now where I get my background color, and this is now what pops up this window here. And then I can just apply the corner radius, the padding, and all of those things. So that makes sense, because before, I think for the text block, we had like 3 different options, on how to style it. So they have streamlined this a little bit. So this is very nice. The other thing that we can also do now is we can justify text. So if you go here into your alignment icon, you have justify. However, this is not working correctly. So I'm not quite sure what is going on. Try it on your website if you want to use it. Maybe it's working for you. Now, this website doesn't have any custom code or anything, so I'm not quite sure why this is not working, but it's basically, it's not even really left aligning it, you know. I mean, it basically justifies the first three. Well, maybe it's because there's only one. Okay, there's only one word here on the last line. But yeah, okay, so it does actually justify. But I don't know. You see, I'm not a big fan of justifying because it's kind of clunky, you know. It just doesn't look good, does it? So, but play around with it, you know. If you have smaller text, I mean, this kind of, you know, where I'm using a big heading is probably not the best example for this. But anyway, so we can justify the text now if we want to do that. Next up, we are going to look at the phone block. Squarespace made some updates for what they call localization, affecting the phone, address, and date and time fields. So now you can configure the phone number field so that you can have a drop-down list here. So that will then automatically add the correct area code. If you don't want to use that, you can just go into your form and just turn that off, you know, to have the drop-down. For the address field, for the country, again, we have a drop-down list now, which is really nice. We also have a new date field format. So now, if someone clicks into this, they will be given a calendar, which is really nice. And then for the time field, we now have this option here, you know, where you can select a time like that. Now, at the moment, these are still American formats, you know, so if you're in Europe, you know, I don't know why Americans have months first and then the day and then the year. This has always been so weird to me. Not just because I'm European, you know, and I'm used to it the other way around, but to me it just makes more sense, right? The day comes first, then the month, and then the year, right? Anyway, let's not get into that. And and also for the time field, at the moment, there's no 24-hour clock. So it's actually PM or AM, which again is very English-centric, I guess you would say. But yeah, these are really good updates. Now, I want to make you aware of something. I want to actually point out something, that with these updates to the form block, if you have used your form block, the label field, to add some custom code, that will no longer work at the moment. So they made a change here, and this might not affect you at all, but I have another video actually on my YouTube channel where I show you how to add a file upload button to your form using Dropbox file request. It's a really great, nifty little method. And with this method, I ask you, you know, to you add some code into the label field of the form. But with this new block now, unfortunately, that doesn't work anymore. So if I go into my label field here so I'm using the line field, and then I go into the label here. This is where I add my code, and now you can see it just shows the code as text, you know, so it doesn't actually recognize the HTML anymore. Now, I've already raised this with Squarespace because a lot of people are actually using this method. Now, if you are a Circle member, you should be able to go into Circle Labs, into your settings, and you can actually turn off the localized form block. And so you just basically uncheck this here, and then you can opt out of the localized form and save it. And then, you know, if I now go to my form here, you can see now it's reverted back to the old format where everything is basically free flow. We don't have the drop-down lists here anymore. And the date and the time, you know, this is how it used to be. But now you can see now my upload button is working, you know, so now I can, oops, hang on, that's not what I wanted to do. well, I haven't, you know, this is just my test, my test website. So I haven't actually, you know, configured this fully, but you can see this is now working. And so that's just something to be aware of. You know, generally speaking, I think this is a good change, you know, so if we just go back here, turn on the localized form block in the Circle Labs, then and if you don't have Circle Labs, you know, then you should actually now just see this on your form block. You know, so we now have these drop-down lists, and it's just made it all a little bit easier. Anyway, so I hope that this was helpful. If you like this video, you know, give me a like, subscribe if you want to be notified of future updates, and have a great day. Thank you so much.